Hi everyone, it's Rax. Diablo 4 Season 3 starts on Tuesday, and of course, every season I'm going to bring you a leveling guide to teach you how to rock it up to 100 and have as much fun as possible. There's two different leveling guides that I have here. I have the fun one, which isn't quite as fast, but will give you way more rewards and gold and materials while you level, which will be better for most people. And then, of course, we also have the Tryhard Method, and we'll jump into Diablo 4, and I'll show you really quickly how to do both of them. So let's get started. So you're going to start your brand new seasonal character, and you're going to claim your renown. And the thing that I've noticed that is extremely important, I know it's going to be extremely important again this season, is to start your seasonal quest line. This time you have a pet, your Seneschal Scorpion Man, and I think the quest chain is going to start in Kekistan. They always start at level 1. So the first thing you should do is do this quest line and get it as far as you reasonably can. Make sure you get the pet, make sure you unlock the ability to get the different, what are they called, rune stones, the support stones, and then you can get into leveling. So, in the past season, the overworld leveling was massively buffed. And if you remember, in the current season, it was even double that because we also had the vampire zone. Well, even without the vampire zone, I still think the overworld leveling is going to be one of your very best options, and certainly one of the highest paying ones, just by doing the different whispers, because the whispers pay so well. So what you're going to be doing here is you just open up the map, and you're going to be looking for a bunch of areas like this that have all these different little objectives to clear, and maybe you can hop in and do this dungeon as well for 5 Grim Favors. Just keep completing these and turning them in. The reason why I label this as the fun method is because you get to run around and do a bunch of different things, and you get massively rewarded for it, which is the total opposite of the other leveling method, which is a little bit faster. So, a little bit more on this. The Legion events that spawn, they're very valuable. So keep an eye on those. I believe they spawn every 25 minutes. Whenever you find one, try to go do that. We already talked about completing the whispers. And if you're strong enough, also go to the world bosses. Those got a major buff as well. The looming question is, with the season theme, you do have the ability to go do vaults if you want. In looking at the gameplay and the way that it was described, I'm not sure vaults are going to pay you much XP, which is the whole point of the way to get to 100. I might be wrong. It might be worth running a vault just to kind of benchmark it. But vaults are an option if you want to get a lot more of the seasonal items as well. So we're just going to have to, I don't know, I haven't tested it, so we're going to have to see how valuable it is with XP. But just looking at the gameplay footage, just going through these little traps and opening chests, I don't know how that could pay very well. At level 15, you're going to go do your class quest, except Necro. Necro's at 25. To go get your technique slot, your spirit boons, your rogue specialization. If you don't know how to do that, the links in this sheet will just direct you and teach you exactly how to do it. No problem. All the way to level 48, rinse and repeat. Keep doing these Tree of Whispers. Keep doing these dungeons that are giving you the Grim Favors. And then finally, you're going to need to upgrade your weapons and get ready to go fight in the, what's it called? The capstone dungeon. It's been a while. The capstone dungeon, of course. Duh. After you've beaten that, then you're going to go to the center of Kmart and you're going to switch it to World Tier 3. Back to the overworld up to about 57. About 57 is a good number, and then you can finally switch to Nightmare Dungeons. You might actually be able to get away with doing Nightmare Dungeons a little bit earlier. Early Nightmare Dungeons pay less XP than the dopamine tunnels, which you're going to see here in a second. They pay less XP than that. But they might pay better XP than the overworld farming, or maybe even the introductory Hell Tides that you might be doing in World Tier 3, because Hell Tide now doesn't really have a cooldown. It's up 55 minutes out of every hour. But whenever you feel comfortable, whenever you feel like you have your build online, whenever you have it strong, you don't have to wait all the way to 57. You can switch to Nightmare Dungeons. Anything else to say here? If you don't have your renown completed, now would be the time to do it. But it should be done for you because now they give you everything. I will update the dungeon tier list tab for you. And it sounds like there's going to be some really sick nightmare dungeons this rotation, some really god tier ones. So we'll have to see if that ends up being true. And one thing to keep in mind is you don't have to kill every single monster in nightmare dungeons. This is a big problem. This is what holds people back. You want to delete everything all the way to the end, complete it, get the completion, get the rewards, get the glyph upgrades, and go to the next one quickly. The only time you should try to full clear it is if you have a really god tier S tier key. Okay. From there, still kill the world bosses, run a couple of hell tides, and then 68. Once you go beat the second capstone, it's going to be all nightmare dungeons all the way to the end. Okay. So in summary, do the pet quest line first, as far as you can. Then go into the overworld and look for areas with all of these different grim favors. Once you have 10 grim favors, turn it into the Tree of Whispers, rinse and repeat. You're going to be getting such a high influx of items and gold from doing this. It's going to feel very, very comfy. Mid 40s, go do the capstone. Then, in World Tier 3, it's back to doing these until you feel like your build is online, you're feeling comfortable, you've got some sacred items. Then switch to Nightmare Dungeons. You don't have to kill every single monster in a Nightmare Dungeon unless you have an S tier key. Just run to the end, efficiently kill the boss, and go to the next round. And then after you beat the second capstone, in World Tier 4, there's no doubt about it, Nightmare Dungeons are by far the best for everything at that point. That's what you want to do. Now, if you want to go a little bit more of the Tryhard method, and you want to fly to 100, it's a little bit of a different strategy. Still, in the beginning, you should start your Seneschal quest line. If you don't start it, you probably can't use the pets. That's how the other season themes worked. So you probably have to go start it at least. Then we're going to do the dopamine tunnels. And the best way for me to do that is just to show it to you. So you're going to port to Karagar, get on your mount, and then we're going to ride out to the right, and we're going to go a little bit north. And this dungeon is absolutely out of control for XP. It's just amazing. So I have a level 20 sorcerer with complete garbage gear, as you can see. I practiced leveling today, and I reached level 20 with my enchantment slot complete in 27 minutes without doing any vampire stuff. So that's pretty incredible to be at 20 with your enchantment slot done in 27 minutes. So this method can absolutely fly. You can probably be, with perfect play, you could probably be in World Tier 3 in under 2 hours and be like a mid 40s. Okay, so you get to the dopamine tunnels. It's just north of Karagar. And what you want to do is you want to clear the entire first part of the dungeon. You don't want to go further into it. You just want to clear the first part. So I'm playing a Firewall Sorcerer right now. And what you want to do is you always want to move forward, okay? No matter what spec you're playing. So I lay a Firewall and you walk forward. I would be doing this if I played any class, any spec. Walk forward. It's going to get a little spicy, but most people are playing hardcore. If you're playing, or softcore, I mean, if you're playing hardcore, then you got to be a little bit more careful. All right? But you just really get on in there and just keep on moving forward, and your XP will fly. There's no XP like it in the game early on than in this dungeon. So you see, you just walk on through. Very dangerous. But, you know, you just throw a firewall here, you throw a firewall there, and eventually they all die. You pick up the potions. Okay, forward we go. And believe it or not, Firewall Sorcerer is one of the best for this method, but it's actually not the best. The best is the Blood Surge. Let's call it Blood Surge in this game. The Blood Surge Necro. The Blood Surge Necro flattens this dungeon in record time. It's unbelievable how fast Necros can level. And that's pretty much it. Do you see how fast I did that? Notice how I'm not going any deeper into the dungeon. Notice how I'm not freeing any prisoners. Don't do any of the actual objectives. Just clear the first part of the dungeon. That's all that we do. Okay, they're all dead. You port to town. Then immediately when you're in town, you hit J, which brings up a menu to reset the dungeon. Okay. J, reset, accept, boom, back in. Now you're, excuse me, now you're inside of the dungeon in a brand new instance, and you do it again. And you do it again and again and again and again and again. I told you, it's not that fun, but it's very, very efficient. I got like an entire level that quickly. You can see how fast you can start adding on the levels, and then you can get to World Tier 3 extremely quickly. All right? So that's how that works. At 15, you'll go get your power. I got my enchantment slot. Back to the dopamine tunnels until about 48. Just keep resetting, keep clearing, keep moving forward, drag them forward. When the events spawn inside of it, they're usually a pretty good idea to do because they pay you a lot of items. And the other people who are doing the overworld stuff, they're going to be a lot richer than you are. They're going to have way more gold, and they're going to have way more materials. Really, the only way for you to catch up to them at all is to do the events that sometimes spawn at the front of the dungeon. You can do that as long as you aren't freeing the prisoners and trying to go further into the dungeon. It's never worth it. Don't do that. But the events you can do. Same thing, you do this till you're 48, then you do the capstone dungeon. Then, when you're done, you go back to the dopamine tunnels, get your sacred items. When you're feeling strong, then you can switch to nightmare dungeons. And then finally, same thing after you beat the capstone. Then in World Tier 4, it's definitely nightmare dungeons. Nightmare dungeons start to outpace the dopamine tunnels for sure in World Tier 4. And then along the way for both of the methods, make sure at a certain point you make sure that you've got all of your pet powers that you need, all of the optimal stuff for your build. And that's pretty much it. So not a whole lot of changes from the Season 2 leveling. In fact, it's pretty much the same. The dopamine tunnels is still the king. The overworld is still the king. If you don't want to do the dopamine tunnels, even without the vampire event, it's still going to pay you pound for pound the most. But I hope that this guide has helped you. I will try to get in and test all the nightmare dungeons so you can know when you hit World Tier 3 and World Tier 4 which ones you should be full clearing and which ones you should be salvaging. But I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this season. I will be blasting. They've got that same deal going on where if you donate, gift 2 subs or something to a Diablo 4 streamer, then you get a mount, and then obviously they get 2 subs. So there's going to be a lot of people there. A lot of people there selling the little horsies. Anyway, many more videos are coming. I'll release my tier list tomorrow. And we got to talk about the tier lists in the video because, honestly, my tier list last season was completely wrong. I put Barbs in last place and they were the best, but it's all due to like bugs and exploits and things not working and nonsense. So the tier list is more like just for fun at this point. It's like you take it with a grain of salt because the moment that Overpower does triple the damage it's supposed to and Hammer the Ancients gets all of its upgrades, then that can easily take a class from last place to first. Anyway, we'll take our best stab at it, but hindsight is 20/20, I guess. I'll see you in the tier list video, and I'll see you at the season on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.